Hi. Welcome to Luna Listens to Books channel. If you like my channel, please like and subscribe. Now the story begins. In a voice mixing innocence with curiosity, my daughter held up a piece of lingerie left deliberately at our home by my husband's secretary and asked, "Mommy, what's this?" My mind went blank, the tumult of shame and anger rising within me. For 8 years, he'd brought women home time and again, testing my limits while I turned a blind eye, but this time for my daughter's sake I resolved to confront Robert and demand a divorce. "Mommy, what is this?" My daughter Stephanie appeared in front of me holding a black lace camisole, her face full of innocence. When I saw what was in her hands, my mind roared like thunder and my breathing halted. It was a piece of lingerie. But Robert and I hadn't been intimate for over a year. How could a new piece of lingerie appear? The answer was screaming in my mind. With trembling hands, I snatched the camisole from her, as overwhelming shame and anger surged through me. I despised Robert's betrayal, and even more, I hated that he now seemed to indulge those women, targeting my daughter. I squatted down, struggling to find words, and managed to say in as steady a voice as I could, "Stephanie, this is Mommy's clothing, could you go back to your room, please?" Obediently, she hugged her teddy bear and returned to her room. As I picked up the lingerie in front of me, the scene from a couple of days ago involuntarily came to mind. Robert had brought home his new secretary. The girl was quite young, just over 20, about the same age I was when I first met Robert. Her face was full of youthful charm, a stark contrast to my waxen complexion. My heart had long been numbed by Robert's years of betrayal. The pain I felt seeing him with a new girl was now a luxury I could hardly afford. Seeing me silent on the sofa, Robert couldn't help frowning. "Sonia, stop sitting there and doing nothing, you." My eyes, full of fatigue, tightened around the fingers clutching my test results as I heard his words. Then, I slowly curled my lips and looked at the girl by his side. "What, am I even in your way by just sitting here?" Deirdre bit her lip, her eyes darkly challenging as she looked at me. "Sonia, don't be upset, there's nothing between Mr. Lee and me, just some work stuff he needed to bring home. Mr. Lee works so hard to support the family, facing a lot of pressure that a stay-at-home mom like you can't imagine. Please try to be considerate. What kind of work would end up in bed?" I smirked sarcastically, but my eyes couldn't help but fall on the man who had been by my side since he was 20. Yet, his face was filled with indifference, showing no intention of defending me, and my gaze grew dim. Forget it, what was I still hoping for? I should have gotten used to it over the years. "Sure, I understand, after all, you're the 8th secretary he's brought home to handle work. My words instantly drained the color from Deirdre's face, and she looked uncertainly at Robert. The man's face darkened. Watching their sour expressions, I laughed heartily, but as I laughed, a scratchy soreness in my throat made me cough uncontrollably. Robert, impatient, pulled Deirdre away with him and slammed the bedroom door harshly. "Don't mind this consumptive. So annoying." The moment the bedroom door closed, my tears still uncontrollably slid down my cheeks. The congestion in my heart almost left me breathless. In fact, I was not a strong person. I'd just learned over these years with Robert how to use words to protect myself. A loud slam at the door jolted me back to reality. I lowered my gaze and slipped out of my nightgown, donning the lingerie instead. Years of illness had wasted me away, leaving the garment hanging loosely, with plenty of space to spare. When Robert entered, he paused abruptly upon seeing me reclined on the bed in the slip dress. My face was pale, but I managed a smile as I looked at him. "How do I look, pretty?" Realizing whose lingerie I was wearing, Robert was taken aback. "What are you doing?" I lowered my eyes as pain coursed through my body, causing me to pinch the back of my hand until it reddened alarmingly against my pale skin. "I just thought, if my husband likes it, why shouldn't I change for him once?" Robert stiffened, then turned around with a trace of joy in his eyes. "Sonia, you're willing to change for me?" Before I could speak, he began to undress and leaned in to kiss me. However, I clearly saw the disdain in his eyes as he took in my emaciated, curveless body, slapped him across the face, my voice turning icy in an instant. "Robert, you are truly shameless." Stunned by the slap, Robert realized I was mocking him and, in a fury, he threw me off the bed. "Get out, Sonia, are you insane, wearing Deirdre's lingerie to humiliate yourself? Do you even see how close to death you look? Do you think I'm interested in your fragile body?" I sat on the cold floor, every inch of me aching with both physical and psychological pain. It hurt, but I refused to show any vulnerability in front of Robert. "Robert, I want to ask you, what does it mean to let another woman leave her lingerie in your daughter's bedroom?" His face visibly panicked at my words, and he struggled to respond. "Maybe Deirdre just left it accidentally. If you saw it, why not just take it away? What's the point of making such a fuss?" I hung my head, tears dropping onto my hands, scalding as they fell, my heart filled with sorrow for the many years of our marriage. Why had the man who once treasured me while I was pregnant and was full of hope for our child become like this? We hadn't even argued much, we just drifted apart as if by unspoken consent. After years of reflection, I arrived at a single conclusion. Perhaps love was simply gone. Even if our love had faded, I never imagined he would become so careless with our daughter. If I were to leave one day, how could I entrust Stephanie to Robert? I looked up, tears in my eyes. "Robert, I can forgive all your past flings, but Deirdre is absolutely off limits." At this, the man burst out laughing, his eyes full of scorn. "Sonia, I didn't expect you to get so worked up at 34, acting like a little girl over a piece of clothing. You don't want me with Deirdre. Well, let me tell you, she happens to be my favorite." With that, he angrily grabbed his coat and left the house. At 35, Robert still acted like a rebellious teenager going through puberty, forbade him from being with Deirdre, yet that only seemed to spur him on. He even started posting ambiguous messages on his social media account daily, just to provoke me. When I saw his latest post, I was on my way to the hospital for a checkup. Love is only for the worthy. In the photo, he held a girl in his arms, both dressed in thick skiing gear. The girl's smile was sweet and joyful as she posed for the camera, while Robert looked at her adoringly. Seeing this picture, I couldn't control my emotions any longer, and my body started trembling. Tears fell onto my phone screen, my hands shaking so much that I dropped my test results on the floor. Had Robert taken her skiing? That had been our best year together. I grew up in the South and had always longed to go skiing. On my birthday, he took me to a ski resort, but unexpectedly, my skis broke and I was thrown out. I thought I would at least break a bone, but Robert jumped down and cushioned my fall, knocking himself unconscious. That incident had convinced me of his commitment. The incident caused Robert psychological trauma, and in the 10 years we were together after that, we never went to a ski resort again. Now, he had overcome his fears for Deirdre. A bitter suffocation tangled around my heart. Did he love Deirdre that much, enough to disregard his own well-being, to overcome traumatic memories? I choked up, and tears involuntarily started falling again. My fingers gently touched the bright smile in the photo, blurred though it was by time, yet unable to obscure the vivacity of our love then. I sent him a screenshot of his post and texted, "Why?" I expected an explanation, but instead, a video call request popped up. Upon answering, I was greeted by the girl's radiant smile. "Sonia, I know about Mr. Lee's psychological issues, but he said he'd overcome them for me, so don't worry, I'll protect him. It won't be like last time." Robert stood behind her, looking helpless. "Robert, I'm at the hospital." I spoke softly, trying to remind him of my situation. To my dismay, he just frowned after taking the phone. "Back at the hospital. Sonia, why are you so fragile these days, always rushing to the hospital? Why can't you be more like Deirdre? Exercise is the key to staying healthy and vibrant. Seeing you so sickly just annoys me. Make sure you don't infect Stephanie when you get home." I'm hanging up now and my lips quivered, unable to utter a sound, as the final thread of my heart snapped. Tears slid down my cheeks as I listened to the dial tone. He truly had no idea how serious my condition was. I squatted in the hospital corridor, my heart turning cold. I realized then that my marriage to Robert had truly reached its end. Looking at my test results on the floor, a sense of helplessness and exhaustion overwhelmed me. For 10 years, I supported him through his business, bearing all the stress alone, never wanting to burden him. And now, all my health and youth had bought me was a remark about being fragile? If possible, I too would have preferred to avoid social engagement at the dinner table in favor of more exercise, but I dared not stop. Once I stopped, Robert's company might face failure. Yet, after achieving success in his business, he scorned my lack of charm, turning to many women just to provoke me into pleasing him. But why should I relent? In this silent struggle day after day, I developed malignant tumors. At first, I didn't take it seriously, consuming handfuls of medicine, but it wasn't until I fainted and was rushed to the hospital that I realized I had cancer. It had been 3 months now, my health had rapidly declined, and I didn't know how long I could live. What I was most concerned about was my daughter. If Robert could find a woman who truly loved Stephanie, I would AO to my death in peak. But Deirdre is absolutely not suitable. I could no longer rely on Robert at all. I must muster my failing health to protect Stephanie to the end. Even if I have only 1 day left to live, I must divorce and find a reliable person to care for Stephanie. I got up and left the hospital. After that, I found a lawyer and had him prepare the divorce papers, also sending a message to Robert. "Come home tonight, it's a must." Unexpectedly, he agreed immediately, surprisingly swiftly. When I got home, I found the house dark except for a few candles lit in the center of the living room. Then Robert came out of the room, humming the birthday song. "Sonia, I've been wrong these past few days. Today is your birthday, and I bought you a birthday cake, surprise?" In the darkness, the few candles made his eyes especially bright, while my heart remained utterly dark. Today was my birthday. But ever since 3 years ago, when he brazenly brought another woman on my birthday, I had stopped celebrating it. The sounds from the bedroom that day, the despair and anger, and my heart being slowly torn apart, I would never forget in my lifetime. I looked down at the cake in front of me and couldn't help but laugh softly. "Pack it up, haven't celebrated my birthday in many years." Robert, seeing his kindness rejected, frowned in annoyance. "What now, can't I even celebrate a proper birthday with you?" I didn't respond and turned on the living room light. The sudden brightness revealed Robert's impatient expression. Expressionless, I handed him the divorce papers. "Let's get divorced." Robert froze, then grabbed my wrist in a rage, throwing me onto the sofa. "Sonia, can you not pick today of all days? Is it because of that post? I warn you, I will eventually grow tired of your threats of divorce." He thought his words would intimidate me, his eyes full of triumph, but I simply turned away pale, dismissing his grip on my hand. "I'm tired, let's get divorced, I'll leave with nothing." He stared at me in disbelief, holding a standoff, then coldly scoffed. "Fine, I'll let you see the consequences of your folly today." He snatched the divorce papers, signed them, and threw them in front of me. But his action was too forceful, and it also scattered my test results from today's hospital visit on the floor, suddenly freezing the air. "What is this?" I looked down, my heart numb, and picked up the papers from the ground. "I was diagnosed with breast cancer." His hand froze in mid-air for a moment, his eyes filled with disbelief as he looked at me, trembling, snatching the medical report from my hand. I stood there next to him, watching as his eyes turned red and he shook his head incessantly. "It's impossible, absolutely impossible. You had a cold, not breast cancer. You must be lying to me." I sarcastically curled my lips, unable to determine whether I was angry or ironic. I had been sick for 3 years, and I had visibly deteriorated. Did my husband really believe it was just a cold? I looked up and smiled, using the last ounce of strength in my body to slap Robert across the face. "Can a cold last for 3 years? Robert, have you been bewitched by another woman? Marrying you was the biggest mistake of my life." He was stunned by my slap. Unable to regain his senses, he stubbornly held on to the medical report, gripping my arm with bloodshot eyes. "You're trying to deceive me and make me regret it. I'm telling you, I won't be fooled. Now you're coming with me to the hospital. I want you to prove it to me right there." His last sentence was almost shouted. Even Stephanie couldn't help but come out of the bedroom. "Daddy, you can't scold Mommy." Seeing our daughter, my emotions became somewhat agitated, but my body couldn't help but start coughing. Each cough sent waves of excruciating pain radiating from my chest to my lungs. I couldn't help but catch the blood I coughed up with my hand. The doctor told me that my breast cancer had metastasized to my lungs, and the situation was dire. When Robert saw the blood in my hand, his eyes suddenly narrowed and he took 2 steps back. "I absolutely won't allow you to deceive me. Are you trying to play dead and fool me? Then I'll take Stephanie away. I don't believe you don't want your own daughter." "Stephanie?" I never expected Robert would use Stephanie as a threat against me. I stared at him fiercely, wishing I could tear him apart even though my whole body was in intense pain. "Do you dare? Is this how a father behaves?" Robert sneered. "I advise you to think it through." Then he turned around and left home directly. Stephanie couldn't help but burst into tears when she saw him leave, struggled to stand up and tightly hugged my daughter. "Don't be afraid, Stephanie, Mommy will take you away from here, okay?" Stephanie buried her little head in my arms and nodded gently. Anyway, I now held the divorce agreement in my hand, clearly stating that Stephanie would be under my custody. I wasn't afraid of Robert threatening to take her away. In addition to the money from our marriage, I had some savings from before that would be enough to support myself and my daughter. Robert simply assumed that I wouldn't dare to leave like this, which is why he felt confident enough to leave without any worries. I stood up and packed our few belongings before leaving directly. I was already a dying person, so what did I have to fear for the sake of my daughter? Before leaving, I turned around and took one last look at this house that had trapped me for 10 years. Every trace of love or hate between Robert and me in every corner of the room was vividly etched in my mind. But this time, I let go of all the memories and resolutely chose to leave. After leaving, I booked a plane ticket back to my hometown. It was a small southern city, not very developed but beautiful, carrying all the happiness of my childhood. I wanted to leave my happiness with Stephanie. As soon as I got off the plane and turned on my phone, my WeChat notifications went crazy. Before I could check, Robert called. My fingers froze. Since I chose to leave, it meant that I had let go of the past and had nothing to fear. "Sonia, where did you take our daughter? You have 2 hours to come back." I opened my mouth, but didn't know what to say. Robert's current behavior made me laugh. He clearly didn't love me anymore, so why was he so concerned about me leaving? "Robert, I left with Stephanie. You went to a city without you. I wish you and Deirdre 100 years of happiness. We'll send you a copy of the divorce agreement. Come looking for me anymore." With that, I lowered my gaze and pulled out the SIM card, throwing it directly into the trash bin. Tears fell at that moment. A feeling of unprecedented relief and sadness filled my heart. Regretted it a little. Why did I understand so late? If I had left him earlier, if I hadn't been so fixated on that already crumbling marriage, would I have had more time to be with Stephanie? Stephanie seemed to sense my sadness. Her warm little hands tightly held mine, her bright eyes filled with concern for me. My heart softened, wiping away the tears. I took my daughter to the pre-rented house. It was an old neighborhood without an elevator, so I had to carry the luggage upstairs by myself. Illness made me weak all over, unable to exert any strength. "Let me do it." A familiar voice made my body tremble. I turned around in surprise. "Eric, what are you doing here?" He was like a childhood friend to me. We grew up together until I started dating Robert, and then we gradually lost touch. We had been friends for over 10 years, and deep down, I knew his feelings for me, but I never gave him an answer. Seeing him again now brought not only joy from reuniting with an old friend but also guilt towards him. He smiled and didn't say anything, carrying my luggage upstairs and all the way to my home. Through our conversation, I learned that he returned to Silvertown after graduating and had never gotten married. I felt even more guilty in my heart, subconsciously feeling like I had held him back all these years. After seeing Eric off, I realized he actually lived next door. It was good in a way because with him around, I could feel more at ease. But I didn't expect Robert to act so quickly. Just half a month after moving in, when I went out to buy groceries, a dark figure suddenly blocked my way. When I looked up and saw his face, my heart skipped a beat and chills ran down my spine. It was Robert. Just half a month apart and his face was already stubbled with facial hair. his eyes rebruised, and there was a hint of stubbornness in his gaze as he tightly grabbed my arm. Sonia, look at you. You can't escape from me, I know you too well. I can tolerate your nonsense this time. Come back and pretend like nothing happened. Looking into his eyes, all I felt was mockery in my heart. My heart died 3 years ago. How could we pretend like nothing happened? I raised my hand and forcefully shook off his grip. The intense movement made my body tremble uncontrollably. Robert, I told you before that we can't go back. We haven't been able to go back since the moment you hurt me. Robert looked at me with a cold and indifferent expression, but there was a hint of hurt in his eyes. I didn't want to get entangled with him anymore, didn't want to know how he was feeling right now. Every minute I spent with him was torture for me. With a determined look in my eyes, I shook off his hand, only to collide with the deep gaze of Eric. Before I could react, Robert caught up from behind. I can promise you that I won't have any more contact with Deirdre. Come back with me and Stephanie, and I'll find the best doctors to treat you. Seeing Eric's desolate expression as he turned to leave, something stirred inside me and I reached out to grab his hand. I turned around and looked at Robert with cold eyes. See this is my boyfriend now. We're getting married soon. Since you've already signed the divorce agreement, stop bothering me. Eric was momentarily stunned, but then his eyes sparkled as he pulled me closer, blocking Robert from approaching me. What are you doing? Didn't you hear what my girlfriend said? Stay away from her. Robert's eyes were filled with disbelief and anger, as if he had been deeply wounded. So you left me for this man? Sonia, you're becoming bolder and bolder. Aren't you afraid that Stephanie will look down on you? Upon hearing his words, my emotions flared up and I slapped him across the face. My daughter will never look down on me. She will only remember that she has a father who let his mistress bully her. Robert seemed to realize something, his eyes briefly showing guilt. I looked at him coldly and turned around, closing the door of the apartment building with Eric. After closing the door, I couldn't suppress a violent coughing fit until I coughed up blood again. Eric panicked and hugged me. What's wrong? Should I call an ambulance? I raised my hand to stop him and then spoke slowly. It's incurable, it's cancer, and there isn't much time left. Just want to find a quiet place to spend the rest of my life with Stephanie. Eric fell silent, then understood what I meant. His voice trembled slightly. Sonia, don't worry, with me here, no one will harm you and your daughter. Tears slowly streamed down my face as I nodded. I knew that Robert would never give up easily, would definitely come after us again, but what I didn't expect was that this time he had rented a house right below mine. It seemed like he had made up his mind that if I didn't go back with him, he would never leave. I instructed Stephanie not to pay any attention to him even if she saw him and to seek Mr. Grant if anything happened. Stephanie was obedient and listened well. I looked at her, a bittersweet feeling washed over me. Perhaps because Robert hadn't caused any trouble for me during this period of time, my heart had gradually relaxed. But reality proved that Robert wouldn't let me go so easily. As I held Stephanie's hand and walked her to kindergarten, we were suddenly stopped by a woman wearing sunglasses. It was Deirdre. Stephanie visibly shrank into my arms, feeling fearful. Despite being in the late stages of cancer and as weak as paper, I took a step forward and fiercely protected my daughter. Deirdre took off her sunglasses, her eyes filled with tears, watched her cautiously as she knelt down in front of me. Startled, I instinctively took 2 steps back, attracting the attention of the people around us. Deirdre's teary eyes overflowed with tears as she held my hand, her voice filled with grievance. Sonia, I know you don't like me, but please spare me. I didn't enjoy being the center of attention, especially from a woman who had deeply hurt me and my daughter. I tried to walk away with Stephanie, but Deirdre tightly clung to my clothes, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't free myself. Biting her lip, Deirdre's face was filled with both grievance and stubbornness. Sonia, even though I call you sister, I believe we are fair competitors in love. Since you chose to leave, you shouldn't cling on to Mr. Lee. I couldn't free myself from her grip and could only turn around to coldly stare at her. Don't worry, I've already divorced him. It's not me who is clinging on to him now, it's him who is clinging on to me. Surprise flashed across Deirdre's face, jealousy evident in her eyes. But, If that's the case, why don't you just reject him directly? Is it amusing to string Mr. Lee along like this? The onlookers also understood the situation and began whispering among themselves. So it turns out it's an ex who either can't let go or doesn't want to let go. Look at this poor girl kneeling in front of everyone. Stephanie squeezed my hand tightly, unable to bear it anymore. My face gradually turned pale. If you think he is yours, then watch over your own man. It's not my obligation to watch over a man for you, especially one that I no longer want. The piercing pain in my stomach made me gasp for air. I knew I couldn't continue to engage with this woman any longer. Otherwise, my body wouldn't be able to take it. I needed to send Stephanie away first. Perhaps sensing my intention to leave, Deirdre stepped forward and grabbed my hand. Impatiently, I forcefully pulled away. She fell to the ground and let out a scream. "Ah, Sonia, you know I'm pregnant. How could you push me like this?" Soon after, she lay on the ground in pain, groaning continuously. Witnessing her distress, the onlookers quickly called for an ambulance and forcefully pushed me away. "I'm telling you, old lady, could it be that you're jealous because this young girl is prettier than you? How can your thoughts be so malicious? She's pregnant and yet you still pushed her." I was pushed hard and fell to the ground. The pain in my stomach made my face turn as white as paper. Seeing me being bullied, Stephanie bravely stepped forward and argued with the other person. Despite being only 7 years old, she was particularly courageous at that moment. "Don't you dare talk about my mom. My mom is the most beautiful person in the world." The other person disdainfully pushed Stephanie away as well. Seeing Stephanie cry, I struggled to protect her despite the pain in my body. More and more people pointed and whispered about me, and my breathing became rapid and heavy. Biting my lip, I wanted to stand up and leave with Stephanie but felt a dizzying sensation as I stood up. Before losing consciousness, I heard Robert's heart-wrenching shout. When I woke up again, I was lying in a hospital bed. Outside in the corridor, a heated argument erupted, causing me to frown and roll out of bed. Before I even reached the door, I could hear Robert's voice. "Are you shameless? Are you addicted to being a mistress? Who the hell allowed you to go find Sonia and provoke her? If anything happens to Sonia, believe me, I'll kill you." Deirdre's voice trembled with tears. "Mr. Lee, why, just half a month ago, you said you loved me. Why are you treating me like this now? I'm already carrying your child. You can't just leave us with no name or identity, can you?" Then came the sound of a sharp slap. Smack. Robert grabbed Deirdre's chin with disgust in his eaves. "What kind of woman do you think is worthy of bearing my child? Look at your own status. Don't think I don't know about your previous schemes. How dare you treat my daughter like that, you wretched woman?" Deirdre screamed as she fell to the ground, clutching her stomach and crying. "If you don't love me anymore, why did you make those promises to me? Was it all just to provoke your wife? But don't forget, you've hurt her so much that she will never forgive you." Robert's eyes turned fierce as he listened to her words. He kicked her in the stomach. "Shut up, I will win her back. From now on, get out of my sight." Deirdre let out a piercing cry as she fell. Her screams attracted the attention of a doctor who saw the blood slowly seeping out from under her. "How could you commit violence in a hospital? Don't you know she's pregnant? Do you want us to call the police?" Deirdre tightly held her stomach, pleading with the doctor even though her voice trembled with pain. "No, you can't call the police. He is the father of my child. If you dare to let him have a criminal record, I won't let this hospital off." The doctor was shocked by her words and didn't want any trouble since it seemed that way. I watched this scene and couldn't help but laugh. I used to think Deirdre was just manipulative and wanted to use my daughter to provoke me. But I never expected her to be so foolish as to expect Robert to be moved by her actions. Robert were really that kind and grateful person. How could he do such things to me, who had been with him for 10 years? Their dispute only made me see Robert's heartlessness once again. Just half a month ago he cherished this woman. Now he could heartlessly kick away their child. It's truly laughable. After opening the door, Robert saw me standing behind it. His face showed some unease before he spoke slowly. "Sonia, you're awake?" I couldn't be bothered to give him any pleasant expression. "Not only am I awake, but I also see your self-important appearance. Where's Stephanie?" Right now, I only cared about my daughter. I didn't care about his unpleasant expression at this moment. Robert's voice softened when he saw my attitude. Sonia, I know you still have feelings for me, right? Look at how much you care about our daughter. Come back with me, okay? The child Deirdre is carrying probably won't make it. Let's pretend nothing happened and start over again, okay? I promise that from now on I'll treat you well. I furrowed my brows as I listened to his words. There was no ripple in my heart. I had long stopped loving him. What's the point of saying all this now? Don't flatter yourself. I love Stephanie because she is my daughter, not because of any connection with you. Besides, even if there were no one else around us, we can never go back. I wearily squeezed my hand, and the pain in my body told me that I was reaching my limit. Tell me where Stephanie is, or else. As I said this, I suddenly started coughing violently, my face quickly turning pale, and my breath becoming rapid. Robert, seeing this, dared not say anything else and tried to calm me down. All right, I won't upset you. Stephanie is at school now. Please don't do anything rash. I'll go get a doctor for you. With that, he quickly turned around to find a doctor while I clenched my lips and dialed Eric's number. Eric, there's something I need your help with. When Robert returned with the doctor, I pursed my lips and smiled at him. Robert, I feel like having some fruit. Could you buy some for me? Robert was surprised by the change in my attitude and happily agreed, his face lighting up with a smile. Sure, Sonia, wait for me. After he left, I turned to the doctor. You don't have to tell me, already know my current condition. The doctor's eyes were filled with sympathy. Miss Jones, you're still so young, why not try going to a big city? There might be a chance for a breakthrough. I pursed my lips and shook my head with a smile. No need, I don't want treatment. I know my body's condition very well, I just want to leave beautifully. Could you please help me with the discharge procedures? Before Robert came back, I left the hospital, enduring the unbearable pain in my body. When I returned home, Eric had already brought Stephanie back. Both of them had red eyes as if they had been crying. Stephanie was still young and couldn't hide her feelings. She ran over and hugged me, sobbing as if she wanted to cry all her tears onto my clothes. Mama, you won't leave Stephanie, right? I clenched my lips, tears welled up in the corners of my eyes, and held my daughter tightly. If possible, of course I didn't want to leave her. Stephanie, if Mama leaves, will you stay with Mr. Grant and be good? Eric walked over with red eyes. I won't allow you to say such pessimistic things. Our new life hasn't even begun yet. Don't say such unlucky words. Seeing his rare sternness towards me, I curved the corners of my lips. Okay. Before Robert found me again, Eric and I left with Stephanie once more. Didn't leave Silvertown, just rented a small house by the seaside. In these last moments of my life, I wanted to quietly accompany them and embrace death. Perhaps it was heaven's favor. It had been 10 days since we moved here, and death hadn't come as expected. Instead, my spirits had improved. Now was the season of blooming flowers. Stephanie said she wanted to go to the city to see Silvertown's flowers. Since my spirits were unusually good, I agreed. However, deep down inside, it felt like something was silently foreboding. Before leaving the house, I handed Eric my bank card and slowly spoke up. Eric, thank you for taking care of me. You are the only person I can rely on now. Don't know when something might happen to me. Please take care of Stephanie for me. This is all of my savings. There should be a few $1,000,000 in there, enough for you to live comfortably for the rest of your life. The password is Stephanie's birthday. With tears in his eyes, he took the bank card, his hands trembling. Why are you giving this to me? Take care of your own child. I won't help you. Helplessly, I tugged at the corners of my mouth. All right, you've indulged me for half a lifetime. Just help me one last time, okay? He turned his back, only the slight movement of his shoulders revealing his current mood. Slowly, I embraced his body from behind. Eric, thank you, but I'm truly sorry. Eric stiffened, refusing to turn around. Perhaps my intuition was right. I didn't make it to accompany Stephanie back. As I held Stephanie and watched the flowers, my heart was filled with regret. Couldn't be there for her as she grew up. Stephanie, Mommy is tired and wants to take a nap. Can you watch over Mommy? Stephanie seemed to understand something and tightly held my hand, her eyes quickly welling up with tears. Okay, but Mommy has to get up, okay? I broke my promise and lied to my daughter. I never woke up again. But even after death, I realized that I hadn't left this world. My soul wandered. I saw Eric rushing over with a pale face, Stephanie crying beside me with all her might, and the sound of ambulances all around. News of my death eventually reached Robert. He knelt in front of my grave with a pale face, his voice hoarse. "How could you do this to me, Sonia? I truly regret it. Please come back to life, okay? Are you just playing a joke on me?" Eric sneered and kicked him away. "No need for this fake sympathy here. You're the one who killed Sonia. Stop pretending." At these words, Robert froze and something crossed his mind. His eyes became fierce and filled with hatred. "Don't worry, Sonia, I will avenge you." My soul didn't disperse. I followed him and witnessed him storming into Deirdre's room right after her surgery. He took out a knife and stabbed her repeatedly, ignoring her screams of agony. His eyes were bloodshot, full of obsession. "You bitch, it's all your fault. You caused harm to my Sonia. Go die." I coldly watched the scene unfold before me without any emotions. His so-called revenge meant nothing to me. I was already dead. What use did his revenge serve? As expected, after Deirdre's murder, Robert was captured and executed. Robert's execution happened to be on the 37th day after my death. I floated back to the seaside with Eric, was scattering my ashes into the ocean, stood before him as tears uncontrollably streamed down my face. In truth, I had thought that if I hadn't been terminally ill, I might have accepted his pursuit and married him. Unfortunately, I didn't want to burden him with my illness and bring him hope only to make him sad. Perhaps this outcome was for the best. Stephanie seemed to sense my soul and suddenly looked up at the sky, murmuring softly, "Mommy, Mr. Grant, I think I can feel Mommy." Eric also looked up and met my gaze from afar. He reached out and held Stephanie's shoulder in his embrace. "Stephanie, it's just your imagination. Mommy has already left." As I watched this scene unfold, a smile formed at the corners of my mouth. Perhaps this result was just fine. Soon after, my soul dissipated along with the ashes into the sea. In that final moment before dissipation, I clearly saw tears in Eric's eyes. Silently, he opened his mouth. "I love you." In the 10th year of love, my love vanished into thin air. In the 10th year of love, however, I encountered someone who truly loved me, but now, I can never hear it for myself. Today's story is over. Thank you all for listening.